Well, the weather for the whole of the south of England will continue as it has for the next few weeks. It's going to be hot and moist, with temperatures rising steadily as time goes on. There's a chance of steamy moments as we move into the... sod it. We never wanted to do this. We never wanted to be weathermen and women making innuendos about hot atmospheres and drizzly countries. We didn't want to be child-friendly. We didn't want to bang on about being for over 18s only. We want to talk about our sexy adventures. We want to be lifestylers, leaping from bush to bush as we sail down the rivers of British sex clubs and mountains of crazy experiences. The cheeky purple mamba, the liquid silk pumped liberally into our hand, the rodeo classic brief harness complete with Tanta's curve, the Enjoy Pure One stainless steel dildo, the hot octopus digit, the ever so short messages on Fab Swingers, the sexy friends on Twitter, and the mighty vanilla alternative. With my best girlie by my side, we'd swing, swing, swing.
Get in the gym or to your car. With our advice, you could go far. We fuck things up and we make mistakes. And talk about our sexy dates. It's getting hard for this to rhyme. Just as well, 'cause it's bed hopping time.
Hello and welcome to episode 85 of the Bed Hoppers podcast. My name's Mr. H.
I'm Mrs. H.
Once again, we are also...
Oh, bed hoppers, what?
No, we're bed hoppers. We're always bed hoppers. What's our real names, dear? Come on.
Oh, I see. You want to roll that one again?
Yeah.
With Simon and Carolyn.
Are you sure?
No.
Oh, good grief. This is going to be a long show, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for sticking us out today. This is going to be amazing.
You think I can read your mind? I can't, contrary to popular belief.
Of course. So we have with us a special guest.
We do. Oh, she's lovely.
She's a very nice lady.
She is.
Anyway, you're going to tell us who
Yes,
she is.
I am. The very, very lovely Siobhan. Is that, am I pronouncing that right? Siobhan?
Well done.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Who was also on the TV show that we featured on, which was Swingers on Channel 4 on the 24th of August. So today we are welcoming Siobhan and we're going to fire a few questions at her.
Thanks for joining us, Siobhan.
You're very welcome, guys. Nice to be speaking to you and having this lovely chat.
It's very nice, isn't it? So we've got a plethora of questions for you today.
Ooh.
Some of which I made up at least 3 minutes before we started speaking.
Wow.
So one of the first things that I want to cover. So you were in the trailer to the Swingers show that came out a few days before the thing aired.
Mm-hmm.
And you were one of the little stars of those miniature films that came out.
I would say she was one of the big stars of that little trailer, actually.
Well, it was a little trailer. So
I know.
Okay, you were one of them gigantically famous stars of the small trailer. How did it feel when you turned on your computer or your Facebook and saw that?
I have to say, none of us, I think, knew. Well, we didn't. We hadn't seen what was going to be. You know, we'd spent hours, hadn't we, with Tom? So I had no idea how it was going to be edited, what bits they were going to pick, none whatsoever. So it was kind of a bit anxious, a bit excited, thinking, what's it going to be like? And so I sat here and I watched it and I thought, okay. Now, I had done a little thing with Tom a couple of years ago. So we had kind of done something similar. That was quite good because I thought it may be similar, you know, particularly with the florist bit downstairs here and then going upstairs to my playroom. So that was very similar to what we'd done. So it was really just a case of seeing what they had included. And I loved it. I just laughed from start to finish, I think. You know, and I think my main thought was, oh my God, I really hope my sisters are watching.
Did you tag them in it on Facebook? That's probably the easiest way.
Well, I think there's only my brother-in-law on Facebook. Oh no, my other sister is, but no, I did think about emailing them, but I thought no.
Let them have a nice surprise.
For one of the family to find it, to watch it.
Because
I was fairly sure that my nephew's wife would watch it, but whether or not anybody would disclose the fact that it was going to be on or that they had seen it or whatever, you know, and whether or not they still have, I have no idea.
Oh my goodness.
Only time will tell.
Had you shared the TV show with lots of...
Only with friends, with
Okay.
a few friends that know what I do.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, and they all eagerly watched it.
I like to think of you having some glamorous watch party with some champagne.
Oh yeah. I can't remember what happened on the evening, because the friend that I would have watched it with, something wasn't going to happen. And I thought, no, you know what? When it happened before, and we'll get on to that. I went round and I had to watch it. We had to watch it like 6 times because we were laughing so much. We were missing bits, you know. That was the actual programme as opposed to the clip before. So the actual clip before, yeah. I just thought,
that's amazing. Do you know what? We've only watched it once, haven't we?
I've watched it a couple of times.
Have you?
Yeah, because I recorded it.
You didn't tell me that.
Well, I only watched the best bits, which, mostly me, really.
Oh, I can just imagine you sitting there, like clapping whenever you see yourself come on. High-fiving yourself.
Just getting the dog. Look, Yoko, it's Daddy. Look, it's Daddy on the TV.
I've only watched it once.
We'll watch it again, don't worry.
We'll watch it properly this time without messages and feeling nervous.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll put it on the projector in the garden and beam it up on the wall.
Oh my God, I don't think so.
Oh, yeah.
So as you watch the trailer and then you lead up to the day of the show, how did it feel? How were you sat down and watched it, and you were by yourself, did you say, when you finally come to watch this one?
Yes, I think I decided to just watch it on my own, and then we could all talk afterwards about what we thought. And yeah, I don't know if it was what I expected or not. It was one of those when it was, because there were bits there when you thought, oh, yeah, maybe not. And was that a good idea?
That's a fair comment. I think we went through the same thing.
I mean, I think probably the bit that, and again, I don't care what people, about the comments. I thought it was hilarious, but the only bit that I wished he hadn't included was me trying to get in the jacuzzi. And I have to say that, trying to get in, because and I've had this discussion on Facebook with a few American evangelical Trump supporters.
Oh my goodness.
They're the best.
That's a good statement.
Aren't they just? And I respond to them as probably the same way I respond to the wankers on Fab. I love to take them on. And they do get quite upset when I call them an evangelical Trump supporter, I have to say, which does please me enormously. But yes, and the reason, and Tom obviously didn't know that, but I mean, why on earth they decided to pick that? I think it was partly just me getting in the jacuzzi, because they actually wanted me to encourage Malika and Martin to get it together.
Oh.
So that was the idea of getting in the jacuzzi.
Okay.
Because they weren't getting any action that night, were they? The crew were getting a little bit desperate because people weren't playing.
So you were a secret spy.
So I was a little spy, and it was, can you do something about this? What would you like me to do? And I was up for it, because I could see that they both fancied each other and they wanted to, but they just didn't want to do it just for the sake of the camera.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I do think that's fair. And we had seen anybody to get to know more, we would have done in front of cameras.
I think that's fair. So how was the experience filming it all for you? Because I guess they spent a good day with you like they did with us.
It was quite exhausting, I have to say.
I agree.
Exhausting.
How many cups of tea did you have to make?
Oh.
How many times did you nearly get to eat your breakfast and then didn't have had it snatched away from you again?
We had a friend come round to do the making the cup of tea part, and that was funny because it is, and I suppose because I'd done this thing with him previously, so I had an idea what it was going to be like. But Belinda, bless her, so it was like coming to the door, knocking on the door, and then right, let's do that one again, coming back and doing knocking on the door. So half an hour just knocking on the door 25 times, then getting in. then getting in the door, and then on the corridor, and then in the kitchen, and then picking up the mug, putting down the mug, picking up the mug, putting down the mug, picking up the coffee, putting down the coffee, and it was, did we ever get to make the cup of tea? I'm not even entirely sure we did. And so that was the bit with that. Well, she was with us for, I don't know, about 45 minutes, just making a cup of tea.
Just knocking the door. She never got to come in.
Knocking on the door.
She's still there.
Hello. Come back. How many times can you go, hello? Lovely to see you. So yes, and I think, well, then after she'd gone, then we had the lunch, making the lunch.
Okay.
It's a pity the cucumber bit didn't get in there, because that would have been fun.
Oh, you had a banana.
Yeah, he was.
You had a banana?
Yeah,
I wasn't happy about the banana.
I refused.
I had a cucumber.
No, I refused point blank. I was like, I am not touching a banana. You are joking.
Yeah,
but you did it.
You don't like bananas
don't
anyway.
like bananas, no.
Oh, I was going to say, what's wrong with bananas?
He looked appalled when I refused to eat the banana for him. And then he
wanted you to eat it.
He wanted me to peel it, yeah, and eat it. Oh, no.
Salacious.
Absolutely refused, point blank. He didn't even feature your banana anyway.
I'm up for anything. I'll just, go on then, let's do it. Yeah, so I had the cucumber in its cellophane, so it was like peeling it back,
I see.
For the viewers' interest here, there is a salacious hand gesture going on.
Yeah. Definitely some salacious movements going on the camera. So that was the daytime. And what about the filming of the evening? How was that for you?
Yeah, that was actually fine, because it was more natural, wasn't it? Whereas, during the day, how many hours? 12 hours, I think he was with me. Whereas on the evening, then once we were there, we were just kind of more or less just...
Yeah, they left you to it, didn't they? To try and just act like you normally would, I suppose. So rather than having to be finally there.
I thought...
Although I did feel like I couldn't take a wee without someone following me.
Yes, I don't think I even... Oh, did I even do that on the evening? I don't know. Yeah, but yes, it was, let us know when you're going to do this and let us know when you're going to do that. And I think the only thing for me was because it was the first time I'd ever been to a club on my own.
Okay.
So it was quite weird from that point of view. I think I kind of knew beforehand I probably wasn't going to play with anybody, partly because I was going on my own. And many times when I go to a club, I don't know about you, you don't end up playing with anybody else.
Absolutely.
Correct.
People think it's all about, it's a big orgy. No, I don't. I mean, yes, the first time I went to a club, I have to admit, I thought, oh my God, what is this place? And it did feel like a bit of an orgy. But it was a party night. It was, a special occasion. Whereas normally when I go to a club, it's not a party. You just go to enjoy the facilities, maybe meet a few people, have and socialise or whatever.
We call it the roll of the dice.
And I've never been without somebody else. So I always end up playing with the person I've gone with, but not necessarily with anybody else.
Yeah, I think that's a fair reflection. And you're right. People do have this misguided view that just because you go to an establishment which facilitates going to do it, and it very often will come away not having done anything other than socialised or be made arrangements to meet people again in a more...
It's a funny thing, though, going to a club, because your experience, your feelings about that club can be very much based on what happens that night.
Yes.
So, and it's not always about the club itself. And we've been to crappy clubs and had great nights, and we've been to great clubs and had crappy nights. And it's, often it's down to the people that you meet and the interactions that you have. And it's quite funny how that clouds your thoughts on the whole club thing, isn't it? It's quite an amusing one. Okay, so what did you enjoy about the show?
I don't know that enjoy is perhaps the right word. I think because I was surprised at the way it came over, which was probably, I think it in a lot of ways, it was good to show different types of people with different backgrounds, with different experience. But I think also the expectations of people when they go, which is quite realistic, really, because I think everybody does have expectations of what a swingers club is going to be like. So I think it was good from that. I'm not sure that it showed, which is, again, impossible to show, what what a club is really like.
Mm.
But again, because of what we said, they're all different. And because that was, for the programme, and the people that were there, the type of people that were there, and our role in that, I don't know. I think it came up, 3.3 million people are still watching my clip, for God's sake. Why? So obviously there is a huge demand for this kind of, for watching and for looking at this. And I think it show a swingers club in a true light?
I don't
know.
It's a tricky one. I think
it showed a slice of it, maybe.
I think it gave possibly one of the better looks at a swingers club that I've seen on television, and I think it did show a number of people with a number of different backgrounds, and like you say, their expectations, and it showed a number of outcomes that could happen in a club. So in that respect, I think it was real because it wasn't staged. We didn't play, you didn't play, and all sorts of bits and bobs happened within the course of that. Someone felt they were rejected or people weren't interested in them, and then another couple did play. And so for that reason, I'm kind of think, well, actually, it does show you a variety of things that may happen when you go to a club. But it's difficult to separate the having been there and watched it being filmed with watching it on the screen, because I know that there wasn't any music going on in the club. I know there was, 10 people in that club that night or whatever it might have been, which was strange. And, there was all this stuff and also being followed around by cameras. But in the context of as real as it can be, I think it kind of did all right. It did, didn't it? It did. It didn't. I mean, yes, I have been asked, was it staged? Were we paid? Were they all actors? You saw that on the forum. And I don't know. I mean, obviously there are cynical people out there that think that every television programme is staged and whatever. And so it was nice that the fact that we were part of it to be able to tell people exactly what it was and what it wasn't. Yeah. And to enlighten them as to how real it actually was.
We had, which was, really less than an hour all told, once you take out the ads and stuff.
Exactly.
It wasn't really much else they could do in that given time to accurately represent all the facets. And what they were hoping to achieve maybe was they need a narrative. They need this tickle the boxy and this taboo subjects that, we like to poke fun at to get people watching for those reasons alone. But what I did like in the positive way was that at least it got people talking about the subject in a more constructive way than just, oh, look at this lot running around with masks on and dogging and what have you. At least it got it out there in a relatively positive light so that we could then come out and say, you know what? It wasn't fully accurate, maybe, because and we're normal people. And look at you and me having an adult conversation about something that you didn't think you would, perhaps. So I applaud it for that. I applaud that it's allowed people to say.
It is a very taboo subject. And I think anything that helps to stop that, and as you say, get people talking, and it has certainly got people talking.
3 million of them.
I mean, it's a shame. The other thing that was a shame was that I was the only mature person there, and so and do I care? No, I have been labelled as the old lady, the old biddy. All of those, or any term you like to phrase somebody that is 67. And because I was the only one there, it felt a little bit, it would have been nice had there been a couple of other mature people.
Plus, it would have given you some options on the night.
Yes. That would have been nice. I'm not denying that. but yes. So as not, I think, not that I care, but to get it more balanced, in that I was like the shock factor. I felt like the shock factor, which I just thought it was hysterical. And which I think also the bit that he did, my clip, this bit about being a florist and then upstairs to the playroom. And then even the best bit about the clip was the cat.
Oh my God, I love the cat.
The cat's amazing.
I really did enjoy the cat.
I've joked with people that she's got her own Facebook page now.
Our dog featured as well, so the pets are doing quite well out of all this stardom, aren't they?
Yes, but it was just the way they introduced the cat. It was just, how random was that?
No, I appreciate that.
Comments that I've had about, just imagine what that cat has seen.
Oh,
because it was in the bedroom on the bed. Just like.
Well, I have a question off the back of that. Actually. So, Siobhan, when you agreed to take part in the show, obviously you've just made a reference there to the fact that you kind of felt that they were almost exposing you as the archetype older lady that is in my lifestyle. Did you think they were looking for that angle when they asked you, well, what's your mind at the time that they might be kind of want to take part because you kind of wanted to talk about what you do?
The reason I did it was because of this previous thing I had done with Tom, this previous little thing. And he had at the time said to me that he wanted to do a documentary about swinging.
Okay.
That's what he'd wanted to do for ages.
Mm-hmm.
And when he got the opportunity to do a documentary on the back of what we'd done previously, that he'd wanted to do it then, but they had said no, that, they had various similar programs. So he had to go off and do other things.
Okay.
But so then he got the opportunity. And of course, the first thing he did was ring me up and say, I want you to be in it. And so it was, why not? Let's go for it. It's going to be fun, if nothing else.
Can we talk about what this other thing was that you did then?
Oh, well, it was just a 10-minute little, he was in a competition, and lots of them had to present this 10-minute thing, and whoever won got to make a full-length documentary.
Okay.
And he won.
Excellent.
Oh, and you featured in his little 10-minute.
It was me. It was just me.
You, just you.
It was just me entirely.
Right.
And it was very similar. Being
right.
a florist, a florist and,
by day and
singer. So
excellent.
So he just wanted to do. He wanted to do a program because he was intrigued about swinging.
I see.
So he wanted to go on and do that, and said, "I really want you to be in it." And I thought it'd be fun.
Well, I think the whole filming experience was fun. To be fair, I think we certainly had apart from the stopping and starting making cups of tea and all that sort of nonsense, the actual messing around with cameras and stuff and being in front of the screen was good fun. So you started to talk a little bit about what you might change on the show. So when you'd actually seen the whole thing as it was live, did you have any thoughts about what you'd have done differently, or if you'd have changed anything about the show, or anything that didn't work for you?
As I say, the only thing was me getting in the jacuzzi, which I have to say. But it has, on the back of it, it's funny, isn't it? Because you see these things and you think, oh, dear God, did you really have to show me struggling to get in a jacuzzi? But it's helped me on Facebook. You see, everything can be kind of turned round, you see, you can. And I think, well, okay, so that was funny. I wouldn't have put it in myself, but I suppose surely there were better shots. There have been negative comments on Facebook about it. But one of the reasons why I struggled was because I have a fear of deep water. So getting into swimming pools, jacuzzis is always a little bit, for me. So I'm not one of these people that can go up, jump in a swimming pool or, so when I go to clubs, whoever I'm with, generally I am very tentative getting into the swimming pool because I have this fear of water.
I reckon it's a secret technique to touch someone as you're getting in the pool.
Well, of course, if there's somebody there, then yes, of course.
You come and help me in.
That's always an option, and I have touched many people in swimming pools.
It's frowned on in public pools, though, isn't it? I think
generally.
Yes,
big signs up everywhere.
Yes. So it has sparked this so I have been able to say to people, because I'm on Facebook. I created another profile so that I could respond to the comments because I didn't want to respond them as me. So I've taken the opportunity to explain about the fear of water, which people have appreciated. So I thought, well, so maybe it wasn't such a bad thing, because if it means that I can educate people, then it's fine.
I like that. Actually, I do love that we actually do have a great opportunity about misconceptions. Yeah.
Whether people or not believe us is another matter entirely, of course.
People form their opinions all the time. They don't care. They just don't think about is that the people on the list, we've got the opportunity to say, you know what, you didn't have to watch it. And also, why were you watching it? Actually, let's have a conversation about that.
So there was one woman, and she was absolutely horrified by it, that not only had she started watching it, but she'd carried on watching it.
Exactly.
And so I did make a comment like, so hold on a moment. So first of all, you knew it was about swingers, which you obviously think is disgusting. So you decided you'd start watching it. Okay. And then you saw that it was everything that you thought and worse, and you carried on watching it.
I mean, what were you expecting?
How disgusting and appalling it is. So nobody forced you to watch it.
Oh dear, I know. Yeah, there you go. There's no accounting for people's ability to act like adults.
As you say, they can be, and we all know about Facebook and Twitter and trolling and the bad side of it. And I'm grateful that the little bit that I have seen, but people do not realise how offensive and hurtful and the effect that their comments can have on other people, which is the bit that I really don't like about social media. So I can deal with it. I just laugh at it, and that's fine. But not everybody can.
Yeah, I agree with you. But
it's a shame that you have to do that.
It's a shame that you have to do it. But equally, I think actually this should happen.
Well, yes. I think, when we were because we were watching Twitter as the thing was live, and we immersed ourselves in social media as we often tend to.
I did.
And the comments started off pretty negative, but by the time it got to sort of the middle of the show, most of it was turning out to be a lot more positive and a lot more considered.
Oh, really? I didn't follow it at the time. I didn't see hardly anything. I haven't seen much on Twitter, I have to say, about it. So.
And by turned into seeing positive, and but some of us, it was quite interesting to see that reversed.
The show itself is a little bit of a flip in that it does start out a little bit more humorous and a little bit more jaunty, and by the time we get
with the prawn rings
and all that sort of stuff, and but by the time you get into the middle of it, there's sort of Hannah and Justin having a moment, and then you talk about your story, and the tone shifts quite sort of rapidly, and then we're talking about sort of putting our relationship first and all this sort of stuff, and by the time you get to that end bit, I think actually you've kind of gone from this it's salacious, it's fun, it's cheeky, it's this, you actually go they are human beings, and I think it took that time to take people through that journey. Of course, if you'd have started the other way round, people would have switched off because they come for the salaciousness in the first place, and if you can take them on that journey, it's pretty good.
There's some heartfelt stories out there, which probably
absolutely, it did bring out lots of different emotions, and I think people, some people were, could have been negative and said, oh yes, it's all about sad people with problems, whatever. But then, there was the other people who could see it's real people with real experiences. And there are so many people in the world who have had the kind of experiences that we all have had.
Absolutely.
I'm not unique. There are millions of people who have experienced what I've experienced. So it was good to show that there are people out there are just normal people who in their lives may have had loads of shit. It's not unusual. Everybody you come across in your everyday life will have similar experiences. And so it was nice to see that we're just normal. We're just human beings at the end of the day. Nothing exceptional. You know, we weren't acting. We weren't all superstars, Essex girls, you know, all glammed up. We get so much of that. This was just normal.
Real people doing real things.
Real things.
And I think that's what made it charming, I think, in its way. So you've been talking a little bit about everybody has done, you know, experienced things like yourself. And I'd like to get into a little bit around your journey, but particularly how you got into swinging. Now, I already know this story because you told it to us on the night. It wasn't on the camera.
Can't remember what I told you.
Oh, the things you told us.
It's gold.
Oh, about being propositioned, was it, by a 27-year-old rugby player?
I think that was one of the stories.
That's
you can tell us that one if you like.
One of the anecdotes.
That is generally how I did, yes. Because having been a committed Christian for 40 years and not having had sex, which most people go, what? Really? Then I wasn't expecting my life to change, although I had lost my faith. And so, but it hadn't got to the point where now I want to go out and have sex with everybody. You know, it didn't come about like that. So I was just sitting here minding my own business. And this guy that I knew through work, never met him, we used to flirt on the phone. And it would be things like, so when you're taking me away for this dirty weekend then, you know, this friendly banter, flirty banter, which I did with everybody. When I had my flower shop, guys would come in, we'd have the banter. Nothing serious, whatever. But one day he then said to me, oh, something had happened in the office. And then I said, oh, okay, what's going on then? He said, oh, if you're on Facebook, I'll tell you. So got on Facebook and there we were chatting away. And he said, so why don't you come over to my place tonight then? Friendly banter, I thought. He didn't think friendly banter. He was thinking, I can shag a cougar. Never entered my head that he was serious. I hadn't had sex for 40 years, for God's sake. Yes, I was doing friendly banter. But why would I think that a 27-year-old rugby player would want to play with a 47-year-old overweight florist, you know? Why would you? So I didn't go. We put banter and yes, and off we went. And I'm sat there and he rings me up and says, so where are you then? And it was like, oh my God.
You were serious? Okay.
You're serious? I said, well, of course I'm serious. So you're not coming then? And I went, no.
Oh, dream smasher.
And I'm glad I didn't. Subsequently, I am glad I didn't. But then it got me curious, thinking, wow, maybe. So I'd been getting emails from a website called Be Naughty, and I thought, let's have a look, as you do. And so I joined and started getting all these messages from guys, anything from 18 to 80, and thought, what the fuck? I mean, the 27 was bad enough, but 18? That is ridiculous. So I always used to say to the guys, being young enough to be my son is one thing. Being young enough to be my grandson is just wrong on so many levels. Please.
So you had a limit.
My friends would go, why not? When I said to my friend about this 27-year-old, I said, I've just been propositioned by a 27-year-old. And she said, and? I said, what do you mean, and? Did you go? No, of course I'm not going. I thought, oh, this is a whole new life I obviously know nothing about. So joined the website, started meeting people, and then one of the guys that I met there, he was a local guy to me, came over to have a look at my boiler, literally my boiler. Because people always say, yeah, right.
Sure.
And on the way out, he said, I've been going to a club for the last few months. You should come along sometime. A few months later in the February, one of his friends was having a birthday party there. And I thought, birthday party in a swingers club? Okay. He said, come along. So I went along and, it was like, what is this place? What am I doing here? You know, it was that shock factor. You know, I didn't know these places existed. And then three of us couples, so six of us went and into a room and started playing. And it's like, what is going on here? What happens? And it was just funny because I wasn't, okay, I gave a couple of blowjobs. I admit that. But generally speaking, it was the birthday girl was just having a whale of a time. And it was an education because I didn't even know what squirting was. It was such an education because when you haven't had sex for 40 years, orgasm, squirting, gussing, what do they know about, boys? You know? And she was squirting for England. and she was just having a whale of a time. And
I like the juxtaposition of the word whale of a time and squirting in the same line.
Yeah, it's amused me as well.
That one before. I'll remember that one. And yeah, they took me to the dungeon, and I saw all of this equipment that I didn't know why it was there and what you did with it. So it was all quite. And when we left, my friend said to me, "So what did you think of it?" You know, and I went, "Yeah." And that was my introduction into swinging.
Wow.
Which is probably the same as a lot of people, but probably not many people get into it as late as I did.
Well, you got there in the end, and that's the bit that counts.
Making up for lost time is what has been said quite a lot.
You certainly are, aren't you? You appear to be owning that.
So
good on you.
So you were on Be Naughty, this site. I don't think I've heard of that one.
I've never heard of
maybe
Be
that's
Naughty,
fallen by the wayside, that site. But
it may have done. It was one of about 12 that were all linked together at the time.
Okay.
And if you joined one, then they passed your details on to all of the others. You know?
Okay, one of those sort of things. So we know that you're on Fab. And earlier, before we started this little recording bit, we had a little mini chat because it's always nice to have a bit of a chat before. And you mentioned to us your 10 grades of wanker. And I you see in my head, I've been wanting to talk about the 10 grades of wanker for the last however long we've been recording. So can you please tell us what is the 10 grades of wanker and how does it work?
Well, yeah, it's kind of quite simple and maybe quite boring, but because you get these messages, do you want to suck my cock?
Straight in there.
Yeah, brilliant start to a conversation. Like you'd go up to somebody in a bar and say, "Would you like to suck my cock?" You know, not really.
Is that number 10 or number 1?
It's not really the first thing that springs to most people's minds, apart from wankers. So the grade 1 wanker is either, do you want to suck my cock or do you want to come on my tits? You know, or can I come on your tits? But then grade 2 is, hello, do you want to suck my cock?
The politeness helps.
Blunt with a hint of politeness.
Grade 3, hello, how are you? Do you want to suck my cock? And if they can say 10 things before, do you want to suck my cock? Then they're not a wanker. They're not a real wanker. They're just pretending. So that's my that's my 10 grades. You know,
I love it.
that should be adopted. It should be one of the rules of Fab, I think. Yeah,
you, my friend, are number 6 on the Siobhan's scale of wankerism.
We need to do T-shirts. You are a grade 6 wanker.
Yes. I love your profile. Do you want to suck my cock? You know,
you're number 3. Yeah. Sorry, love.
Yeah, I've looked at your profile. I love your pictures. Want to suck my cock?
What about if they wrote a few paragraphs and sort of extolling the wonders of you and reading your profile and referencing it, but the very last line is, "Do you want to suck my cock?"
Yeah, they're borderline.
Borderline wanker.
Because basically they've got to, if they've done that, they've shown that they've got at least 2 brain cells.
Yeah, that's true.
Haven't they? So the criteria for a wanker is 2 or less brain cells.
Oh, okay. It's good to know.
And what do you suitor? One assumes they're not on the 10 shades of wanker list.
Well, yes, it's got to be. I mean, on my profile, my profile when I first went on there was quite short, as it probably is with most people. And then you get the wankers and the time wasters.
Yeah.
And it gets longer.
Yeah.
Because you have to spell it out in black and white what you want them to do. And so they have to have a face pic. I mean, why you would even want to talk to somebody without seeing their picture baffles me beyond belief.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Because I don't pick people. I don't decide just on the picture. I mean, that would be shallow, to say the least. But there's got to be something.
Yeah.
And the picture for me, there are 4 categories. That's another thing that I've got on there. 4 categories of people. The one, which are the Martins of this world, which are Oh, yes. How soon can you come? He'll be hearing this if you leave that bit in. The second one is, quite nice looking. Yeah, worth chatting. Third one is, okay, maybe, let's have a chat and see what happens. And the fourth one is, oh dear God, no. Some guys, a lot of guys, let's be fair, make absolutely no effort whatsoever when they take their picture. They may have just come home from a serious night on the town. They are slumped in the chair with their chins hanging out and their stubble and their hair all dishevelled and their beer belly flowing with looking seriously miserable. And for some reason, they decide that's a good picture to put up.
It's one of my biggest annoyances out there. And
I thought punctuation was your
punctuation is dear to my heart, but also in fact, not just the pictures of men, but the lack of effort that a lot of men just don't, they just don't put the effort in. And especially if you go to a club, and we talked about this with Martin the other week, you'll see this woman beautifully dressed up and gone to every effort and done her makeup and, probably wearing some sort of dress with some sort of delicious underwear showing, all this sort of stuff. And they've gone to the effort of matching everything. And then there's a guy in some ripped fucking jeans and a pair of sandals and a T-shirt or whatever it might be, who hasn't even bloody combed his hair. Drives me nuts.
Yep. I'll agree with you there 100%.
So we know that you've been on TV a couple of times.
No stranger to the stardom, eh?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you've met one of Carolyn's secret crushes.
Oh, well, he's not a secret crush. He's a guilty pleasure.
A guilty pleasure, then.
Because most...
Yes, it did surprise me when you said.
Yeah, it just surprised me as well. It was almost a divorce moment.
It's just a little guilty pleasure. It still doesn't happen all the time. Just now and then.
And who is this guilty secret?
Might be Jeremy Kyle.
So for
good old Jezza.
Good old Jezza. So,
Jezza. My friend Jezza.
Sweetheart, do you want to explain who Jezza is? Because not everyone will know Jezza this side of the pond.
That's kind of gone a bit quiet.
And we've all been celebrating since.
No. Jeremy Chat Show, a show where he would invite anecdotal scenarios that they wanted to maybe cover with.
It normally involves a DNA test.
Always a DNA test or a lie detector test or some kind of test where he could brandish an envelope halfway through the show and dramatically reveal some results to the heckling audience. However, I've got a lot of time for Jezza because not only am I a famous, he always wears a suit, but also I just found that the whole airing already sitting there going, oi, no, you, calm down. I'm not telling it very well, really. But
well, I thought you were just going to start describing the whole plot of a Jeremy Kyle episode.
But they always had exciting, dramatic kind of show-stopping. I slept with my neighbour's wife's. I'm the father or something.
So you've reached late night Jeremy Kyle chat, where we'll be discussing the benefits of Jeremy Kyle throughout the evening. So,
yes,
we've established
Jezza.
now, Siobhan, that you have been on Jezza's show. Tell us about that, please.
Yes, I mean, that was bizarre because I had watched the occasional show because it's on in the morning and I was obviously working, so it wasn't something that I was an avid viewer of, but I had seen it and I always regard it as train crash families.
Yes.
Okay?
Very succinctly put. I didn't say anything like that, and I should have just said train crash families. Yes, well done.
Of which there are hundreds of thousands. I do have to wonder why they would go on there, knowing how brutal he can be.
Yes.
Yep.
With the wankers, that are on there. So yeah, but I had, and yes, for a lot of people, it was great entertainment and watching all the heckling and whatever. But again, they were real people and many, many, many sad stories. They were, when I say train crash, because they were troubled families. They were train crashing that so many ghastly, horrible things, which again, it is real life. Thank God I never had anything that disastrous. But the reason I was on there was because I had done 2 magazine articles. I am on several websites for the porn that I do. Modelling is the term, adult modelling, darling. Just including a little bit of wanking.
She's so glamorous, isn't she?
And so I'm on and the funny thing is, this particular website was called Mad Cow Models. Where would you come up with a title like that? And so the photographer that had got me into it, who is on Fab, I hadn't only done a few videos, and this lady on there but worked with a media company and messaged me and said, we'd like to interview you about your modelling career.
Oh,
well, I think I'd done 2 shoots at that time. So I said, it's not exactly a career. And so she said, well, we'd still like to. So over the course of a month, 6 weeks maybe, we just spoke on the phone. They were in Birmingham, I think. They never did get to send a photographer. I ended up sending them pictures. And so we just chatted, blah, 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 blah. And then they sent me the story, what they were going to publish. And so what they do is they send it out to all the magazines and see who's interested.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, why not? Could earn me a bit of money. Let's go for it. I worked for a supermarket. We had to call it supermarket. And they wanted a picture of me in my uniform. My supermarket uniform. No, sorry, not allowed. You cannot mention that, who I work for. You can say supermarket, but that's it. Because I knew I would get into trouble.
Right. As
bringing the company into disrepute.
Yes.
Which I've subsequently done anyway, but hey ho. I don't care because I don't work for them anymore. So we did this. They sent it out to the things, and Closer magazine came back and said they wanted it. Marvellous. Yes, please. And then That's Life came back and said they wanted it. Marvellous. So it went to print. And then I realised that we actually sell Closer magazine in the supermarket where I work. Oops. Okay. Yeah. I wasn't working the week it came out, but I went to the branch in Worcester Park and read it.
Oh, I love it.
So there it was, this 62-year-old swinging, that was going to the New Year's party, whatever, and all about me being a swinger and a porn star. And I thought, oh, okay. I think I'm going to get one of those calls when I get back to work going, Siobhan, could we just have a little word? Conversations. And sure enough, so I wasn't there that week, but the following week I went in, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. No. And I'm thinking, really? Got to Friday, got in, Siobhan, Michael would like a word upstairs. Yeah, I thought so. And the funny thing was, young guy, 25 years old, got the task of talking to me about it. Didn't want to, highly embarrassed, talked about everything under the rising sun, and eventually, well, there was just one other thing. In the magazine article. But actually, he said they were fine. They were fine about it. What I did in my private life was entirely up to me.
Oh.
And he said, if anybody tries to give you any grief, you let us know, and we'll sort them out. So actually, they were absolutely fine about it.
That's brilliant.
Then within a couple of weeks, I'm sitting here and the phone goes, pick it up. Oh, hello, is that Siobhan? Yes. Oh, my name's Bianca. I work for ITV. Hey? We'd like you to come on the Jeremy Kyle show. What? Why? Me thinking, train crash families. Where do I fit into that? She said, no, we've seen one of the article in Closer magazine, and Jeremy is really keen to interview you.
Oh my God.
Oh, okay. I really want to. Do I? Yeah. Why not?
You only live once, eh?
Yeah, well, they wanted, and the other thing was, it was all very rush, because they rang me on the Monday, and they wanted me to go up to Manchester on the Wednesday to film it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It was very quick.
Mm-hmm.
So I had 2 days to think about it. They wanted me to take somebody with me. Did I have a friend or a family member who didn't agree with what I was doing? But I didn't know anybody that disagreed, didn't agree with what I was doing. And C, none of the people that I knew who did it didn't want to go on the television anyway. because whilst they knew what I was doing, they didn't want all their friends and family to know that they knew what I was doing. So so I got a guy off Fab to get to do it as well.
Excellent.
Amazing.
And what was the show like? How did it go?
It was hysterical, I have to say. It was, I mean, and to be fair to the show, I have always said they treated me very well. There was a lot of stuff that came out after that guy that committed suicide, etc. And there was a lot of people slagging it off. I had no complaints at all about how I was treated. Particularly, I have to emphasise on the mental health side, because I had mental health problems. And I was still on the medication, and they were thorough beyond belief.
That's good.
They wanted to know all your physical conditions, what medication you were on for any of those, any mental health problems at all, any medication you were on. They followed you all the way through. They rang me here. They rang me when I got to the hotel. They came to see me in the dressing room. They were there at the back side of the stage. They were there afterwards. Couldn't fault them on that. So anybody that's criticised on that, I have to say, my experience was nothing but good.
Yeah. And my burning question, actually, did you throw a chair at anybody? And did anyone throw a chair at you?
No.
That happens a lot in Jeremy Kyle, apparently.
It does. Oh, actually,
it does,
yeah, it does.
Yes.
Yeah. Someone always gets up and throws a chair around.
Yes. It was all very civilised, you see, because it was just me. Because I didn't know he just did these single interviews. You know, it was all about families.
Yeah.
So it was all a bit bizarre. One of the funniest bits about it was that we had to go to the studio to do a mic check at some point beforehand. And you got to see all the other people that were going to be on the main part of the show. And mainly young, I don't know what the story was that day. I cannot remember when I actually saw the programme when it came out. But so we're all in the audience bit, and you all have to go down and have this microphone on, and then they say, yeah, hello, Jim. And the question was, do you have any hobbies? I'm not sure whether that was designed especially for me, but, you know, all the people, one by one, they went up, and they were all young people, not the most exciting, I have to say. Guys would go, yeah, well, you know, like a bit of footy, going down the pub. You know, it was all pretty boring. And the girls were much the same, you know, going out on the town with their friends, looking after the kids. So then it's me, the oldest one there. Right, go on. So, Siobhan, have you got any hobbies? Yeah, I'm a swinger. I was like, what? And they all started clapping. What? Totally not expecting it at all. And then as we were going back to the dressing rooms, the youngsters were coming up saying, is that true? Is that really true? You want a swinger? I'm going, yeah. I said, that's why I'm here. What? You know. So that was just hysterical. And then when it came to actually going on, you know, we're out off stage, and then Jeremy sort of says, right, I had never covered this subject before. My guest today is Siobhan. She's 62, and she's a porn star. Now, you could see the audience, which were a mixed age, as they always are, and this kind of, they all had this idea about what a 62-year-old porn star would look like. So it's like, yay! And then I walk on, and it's like, yay! Oh my God! She could be my neighbour. She could be my mum. What? Yeah. You know, we weren't expecting that today. What a bonus. And so he said, so I'm a little scared. And he was down the other side of the stage. So I just tottered up to him and gave him a big hug and said, don't be scared, Jeremy. I'll look after you. And he follows me back to the chairs like a little lapdog. And then, the production team had said to me, they wanted me to go for it. They wanted me to flirt with him, embarrass him, do what I like, say what I like, whatever. And they kept on. They weren't sure if I was going to. So it was like, you will do it, won't you? You will do it, even right up until the moment I went on stage. Now, you're going to go for it, aren't you? Yeah. They still didn't know. So we sat down, and the first thing I said was, do you like my puppies, Jeremy? And he went, stop it. So I said, stop what, Jeremy? Would you like a blowjob, Jeremy?
Oh, my God. What did he say?
He was just shocked, and he went, please don't use that word. What word, Jeremy? Blowjob? Yes. So of course I had to keep on using it, didn't I?
Oh my God.
just for the sheer hell of it. And the audience were just hysterical. I mean, because they said the same to us. You may get some heckling and that. Are you okay with that? I mean, yeah, not a heckle. And they loved it. The youngsters loved it. The older people loved it. There was one guy with grey hair, and he just had this biggest smile on his face for that entire programme. And Jeremy asks me questions like, what's the youngest guy that you've, done that to? Done what to, Jeremy? Blowjob? Yes.
Oh, I love it.
I said 23. And the audience were like, and there's these young lads, and they're all huddled over, joking with each other. And there was one guy going, "Do you think we could get one?"
Oh my God. Oh, I have to say, I'm a bit jealous. You got to meet Jeremy Kyle
and offer him a blowjob.
Oh, I'm not sure I would offer him. I'm impressed that she met him and got to.
And I didn't get to give him one. No, so many times did you give him one? That was purely because I had to rush off afterwards.
But the offer still stands.
The opportunity didn't arise, unfortunately.
Oh, that's amazing.
That is a cracking story.
He was fine. Everybody asks me what he was like. I mean, I didn't see him before the show, didn't see him afterwards, but he was fine in the interview. It was such a giggle. It was so much fun.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you ever so much for sharing that.
I'm curious to see what's next, Jeremy Kyle, Channel 4, whatever next.
I know.
Like I was interviewed by Mickey Flanagan, I hasten to add. I'll just slip that one in.
Wow.
You can't just slip that in there and not give us a little bit of detail.
Blimey.
A little bit of detail. That's got to be the shortest clip in history. You can still find it, apparently. It was on Sky. He was doing a series of alternative lifestyles or midlife crisis. So he was investigating things, and swinging was one of the things he was looking at.
Okay.
And they contacted me, the Sky, and asked me if I'd go to the Hellfire Club in Sunbury.
Oh, yeah.
I have heard of it.
We've not been there, but it's on the list of places.
Yeah, we have heard of it. In safer COVID times, obviously. It's on the list. But
yes, obviously that's all out the window now.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so they took over the club for the evening, and I got interviewed on a settee with Mickey Flanagan.
Oh my goodness, you are a dark horse, aren't you?
Well, clearly the highlight is being interviewed by us, though. I'm just going to put that. She doesn't need to say that.
To the top.
That's what she's nodding in agreement to on the camera.
To the top of a list, because we know Siobhan likes to make lists now with her 10 wankers and her 4 profiles, and obviously now it's going to be her favourite interview
ever. So I think we've got one final question for you today, Siobhan.
Yeah, because we're running out of time a little bit.
So this one is all about, actually, from doing the TV show, we've had a lot of people get in touch that are looking to join the lifestyle, the swinging lifestyle, and take part and dip their toes in. So what would be your top tip for new people who are thinking about having a go?
Having a go. Swinging.
Ooh. Well, there would be so many. It's like don't go with any preconceived ideas. Regard it as an opportunity to meet new people, to socialise with people, and to play with them if everybody's in agreement, and have fun. But the most important thing is enjoy it and have fun, because you can. The world is such a shit place at the moment, particularly with COVID and everything. Everybody needs to relax and have fun, and you can do that in a lovely swinging environment.
Lovely. I think that's a wonderful end to the little interview with you today. Siobhan, is there anywhere that people can find you out in the world? Is there
if you want them to?
If you want them to, or would you rather they didn't find you?
It's funny actually, because people have found me. They've been quite ingenious in managing it, given that all they had on the programme was Siobhan as a florist.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you find that? But they've managed it, and I've had phone calls and emails on all my different emails, amazingly, and on Facebook and on Twitter. And the thing is, it's quite, I don't know how to reply to that, actually.
well, let's say that if people need to find you, I'm sure they will find you.
Apparently so.
You're like Batman. You'll show up at just the right time.
I will appear somewhere. I mean, of course they can all find me on Fab, but that's where I'm well known.
I really want to say thank you ever so much for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure just chatting around to you and going through some of these amazing stories.
Oh, I know. I love the Jeremy Kyle experience.
Well, I know you'd love the Jeremy Kyle experience.
I liked hearing about the Jeremy Kyle experience.
No, it's been amazing. It was such a pleasure, lovely to catch up with you again.
Yeah.
Right, Mrs. H, do you want to do the thing?
I do. Well, thank you very much for hopping into our bed.